Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Torn here with another Warhammer Total War online commentary. In this particular battle, I'll be playing the Warriors of Chaos, and it's mostly a monster mash composition. I actually have 2 Chaos Giants and some Dragon Ogres, so hopefully that'll be nice and entertaining for you guys. My opponent over here is commanding the Greenskins, led by Azog the Slaughterer. So we're actually both using fairly uncommon army compositions, I would say, and it looks like, what does he have? What did he bring from Lore of Death? He has Fate of Buna and Spirit Leech, so just straight to business. So as far as my army composition goes, I have a front line of Chaos Marauders. So these are just the standard shielded fodder infantry. Pretty decent against, Arrow Boys, Goblin Archers, any of that type of thing. And regardless, they're a pretty decent fodder unit overall. So in the secondary line, I also mixed it up with some Chaos Marauders with great weapons. So if he does have Black Orcs, granted Black Orcs will absolutely crush these guys, but they will be able to at least pierce through the 110 armor I believe they have. So in the center, I have 2 Chaos Giants. I have a Chaos Sorcerer with the Lore of Fire, so I just have Cascading Fire Cloak, Flaming Sword of Ruin for the damage buff, as well as Fireball just to take out targets that are trying to escape and whatnot. In the back, this is actually a pretty decent anti-cavalry combo. You get the Dragon Ogres and the Chaos Warhounds with Poison. So these guys will initiate, they'll lower the attack of the target, slow the target, and allow these Dragon Ogres to catch up. They have 60 speed, which isn't as fast as a lot of other cavalry. If we take a look over here at some of these, I believe he has some Orc Boar Boys over here. Let's see what their speed is. So they're 64 speed, and a lot of different cavalry from the Empire are upwards of 65. So Chaos Warhounds with Poison are not only good at slowing down enemy cavalry, but also at allowing the Dragon Ogres to get on the target, who will do the real damage with their anti-large and armor piercing. Then I also have a Chaos Lord on a Manticore, as well as an Exalted Hero on a Manticore. My opponent's army composition, he has Orc Biggins in the front line, and then a front line of Orc Boys also. He has a Goblin Rocklobber. He has Orc Biggins over here, so mostly Orc Biggins and just standard Orc Boys. And in the back, he does have some Black Orcs, which will be the backbone of his army, and they'll really be doing a lot of damage. It seems like this army composition, however, is built a little bit more against a traditional Chaos army composition, because Black Orcs aren't going to do that great against fodder units like this. But regardless, they're just such a strong unit despite the matchup, so I still have to be very wary of them. Then he also has Azog, as I pointed out earlier, and he has a Goblin Big Boss, and that's pretty much it. So definitely a unique army composition, but he does have good mobility with these Savage Orc Boar Boys, and I believe he has 2 groups of them, and there's another group over there. So they are armor piercing and do have anti-infantry, so they'll be pretty good at cleaning up my Marauders. But regardless, I do have these Giants, which are a pretty huge threat. Anti-infantry, armor piercing, all that fun stuff. So let's go ahead and get started, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy this battle. So right now, my opponent is just kind of waiting for me, and, as a Greenskin player, and he does have Siege, he has 2 Goblin Rocklobbers here, so he definitely has the privilege of waiting for me to advance on him, which is fine. Because on this particular map, you guys can see there's massive tree cover. So a lot of his artillery that he's shooting, especially the positioning of this one, a lot of it is just going right into these trees, and some of it will get through, but a lot of it won't. So that was definitely positive for me. So my forces are advancing, the Marauders are taking a little bit of damage, but that's not a problem. So I noticed he doesn't have any traditional missile infantry, so I was able to have free range in regards to my Exalted Hero and my Chaos Lord. So they're just kind of circling around, and I was trying to find a weakness and chase Azog more importantly, because these 2 will easily be able to take him out of the sky. But my opponent, it looks like he brings the Goblin Big Boss back, because if I do engage, well, regardless, he wouldn't be able to land without a target on the ground, so not sure what this guy was doing, but not a bad idea, just posturing up over here, and he's definitely keeping his distance, and he did use his Foe Seeker to get away. He also has Fate of Buna, so if he decides to do so, he can start draining my Chaos Lord. Right now, the forces are finally emerging from the jungle here, and it looks like the Orc Boys are getting nice and hyped, raising their swords up here, and are ready for some action, but those Giants are going to be really tough. And when you're playing with Chaos, if you do have Giants, you want them to be on Black Orcs. Because the Black Orcs, they're armor piercing, and Giants have pretty much no armor. They have 30 armor, and they themselves do have armor piercing, so they would trade very effectively with Black Orcs. So once the battle gets going, you're going to want to get the Giants on those guys. But regardless, starting them out on the Orc Boys is not an issue. So he's going to get in here, I'm sure, and hopefully will either stomp or bite or do something to some of these Orc Boys. But it looks like I actually may have tried to path him through there, but we will see how it all goes here. But this Giant over here, he's biting heads off, doing his thing, having a good time. Fun times for everyone. So things are going pretty well. I'm using the Chaos Sorcerer to cast the Cascading Fire Cloak here, so that's definitely good. But my opponent finally brings his Black Orcs up, which is definitely what I want, because now this Giant, when he eventually does decide to swing, will do pretty well. So he goes ahead and takes a nice swing there, takes out a Black Orc, and it looks like one of the Orc Boys. So things are going well in the front line so far. The fodder is taking a lot of the damage, and the Giants are able to generate results. So the Chaos Lord right here, I was just using to chase down routing units, because he was evading me very well with Azog, and Azog was finally able to actually isolate this Exalted Hero and using Spirit Leech, so very well played on his part there. But in the meantime, I did miss it. The Savage Orc boys did get caught by the hounds, and then the Dragon Ogres were able to just pound them and do some huge damage. So right now, my opponent does have a lot of low-tier infantry, so using these Dragon Ogres as well as these Chaos Poison Warhounds to chase down retreating units is such good value, because these Orc boys, before they got caught by these hounds, still had, what, 50 or 60 models? And if they do come back, that's a big difference in a close battle. So you can see him just cycling them and chasing. And in the meantime, these Dragon Ogres are able to catch out Azog the Slaughterer, who did land for a moment. Very, very rough situation, because these guys hit like absolute trucks against heroic units. So that was a good situation for me. And now I believe I did cast a Fireball. And let's see if it gets him here. And it does, man. So what a way to go for Azog there. He takes a nice tumble. And that's why you bring Fireball, guys, because, you know, he could have kited me around the map for another 5 minutes or so if I didn't get that off. So definitely worked out well. But in the meantime, just continue to use the Dragon Ogres, because I did win that cavalry battle pretty convincingly. So the Dragon Ogres are just chasing down routing units, and they'll also make short work of that big boss too. So this is definitely going to be nice. Though this isn't what they're designed to fight, their weapon strength is still 100. So they're going to just cut through these type of units very, very effectively. In the front line, most of my fodder units did get cut down, and my opponent, his other group of Savage Orc Boar Boys, was kind of just running around and cycle charging my fodder. But regardless, this giant is going to be very, very hard to take out, and he's just laying the beat down on these guys and doing pretty well. So in the same situation over here, guys, I did lose all my fodder units because he does have Black Orcs, and Greenskin infantry are very, very strong. Even though I think the Lore of Death definitely inhibits your melee capabilities, but regardless, he still does have the Wa and those other, you know, abilities of that nature. So I do land my Chaos Lord, having won the leadership battle. I do have these 2 Manticores in here, which are going to be very resilient, and now some of my Marauders are coming back from route. So that's definitely a good situation, and this giant is just continuing to lay the smackdown. And also the terror that these guys cause will be pretty good, although Black Orcs will not be affected by it. So over here it's going pretty well, and something that I noticed is having the giants isolated wasn't working out that well. He was getting them surrounded, so I pulled this giant over here, and having them side by side in conjunction with the Chaos Lord, that's going to be a big leadership hit, because these giants, they cause terror themselves. So a lot of the low tier Greenskin infantry will retreat, and thankfully you can see some Marauders are coming back, which is very helpful at the end of the day. But him having lost Azog and landed there, and you know the Dragon Ogres were standing nearby, that was a really tough situation to be in. And of course the Chaos Hounds were just doing an excellent job at chasing down these fodder units. So that's pretty much it for this battle, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that one. This is a build I really actually like for Chaos, because a lot of people, when you play against Chaos, they're like, okay, they're going to bring Chaos Warriors with great weapons, very heavily armored, kind of small army size type build. But coming with a build like this, I don't know if it's the most, you know, competitive, but it can throw people off, because it seemed that most of his army was accounting for kind of slow Chaos Warrior type builds, because he brought 3 groups of Black Orcs. He also had the Savage Orc Boar Boys, and he had the Goblin Rock Lobbers. But I think once the Manticores and those type of things came, as well as the Giants, who aren't really weak to anything here except for the big ones, who I don't think got a good engage. They got tied up with Marauders. So I think it can definitely throw people off a little bit. But this is actually also a surprisingly good anti-cavalry group, is the Chaos Warhounds with the Dragon Ogres, though or Savage Orc Boar Boys aren't going to, you know, have the best matchup against that. But regardless, he did get some nice cycle charges with this Savage Orc Boar Boys group there. So really good games to my opponent, Snacks. It was a lot of fun. Always cool to see Azog the Slaughterer back in action, and he did get some good Fate Bunas there, but again, there weren't great targets for it. So, and the Spirit Leech did pretty well also on, I believe it was on my Lord, but he was able to heal up with the potion. So again, good game. Hope you guys enjoyed that one, and more content coming soon. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.